This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Okay, good evening everyone. Shalom Aleichem, Bruchim Habayim. Parshas Vayeitzey. Continuing our Shiurim on Sefer Bereshis. Shiurim on Sefer Bereshis are sponsored by our good friend, Dr. Zakheim Umeshpachta, Le'iloi Nishmas, Reb Shlomo Eliezer ben Harav Yaakov Zakheim, and Le'iloi Nishmas, her mother, Rivka Bas Tuvia, the Neshama Shnav and Aliyah. Should be Malitzei Yisharim for their whole family, Ad Bias Goyal Tzedek. Tonight's shir is sponsored anonymously in honor of a grandson's engagement. Bez Hashem, der Shidduch Zal Oila Yafa Zayin, Shabi L'Shem Lo Sefaras. Okay, so somebody once asked me a very interesting question. They wanted to know if when you're on a plane and you're learning something, if you have extra siyata d'shmaya because you're closer to Shemayim. So it's hard to answer that question, but maybe from personal experience, yesterday I was flying back and I was under the gun because I had to come up with a topic for Wednesday night. So I think we came up with the most amazing topic possibly. The topic is the word hine. That's this week's topic. The word hine. Say what? It sounds like the most boring subject you could possibly come. I'm telling you, this is out of this world. Let's start with the pasuk that we say every Motzei Shabbos in Havdalah. We say, Hine Keil Yeshuasi Eftach V'lei Efchad. Behold, God of my salvation, I trust in Him and I'm not afraid. Ki Azi V'Zimras Ka Hashem, because my strength and the praise on your praise Hashem Vayil Yeshua has been my salvation. That's how Havdalah opens up. Beginning of Havdalah is Hine Kel Yeshuasi. Behold, God of my salvation, I trust and I'm not afraid. Now there's one word in this pasuk that seems to be superfluous. It could have said the exact same thing without saying this one word, and that is the word Hine. What does V'hine mean? Behold. Now, do you ever speak to someone and say, I was walking down the street, and behold, a car pulled out of the driveway. Unless you're discussing in England or speaking about Shakespearean English, most people do not use the word behold. It's an archaic word. It's a very old-fashioned word. And honestly, it's a word that does not add too much to a conversation. So, what exactly does the word behold mean? How is behold adding anything to... how does the word behold add anything to a conversation? Behold, God of my salvation. Just say, Kel Yeshuasi, the God of my salvation, Evtach v'lo yefchad. Does the word hine actually add anything to the meaning of the pasuk? Or, let's look into Tehillim. We say, Hine, behold, lo yanum v'lo yishan, shomer Yisrael. Lo yanum v'lo yishan. He does not sleep, he does not slumber, the guardian of Israel. Why say the word Hine? Hine doesn't mean anything. Behold, just say, my grandmother, Allah Shalom, said, when she was running away from the Nazis, she was a Polish, she was a daughter of the Rav of Sachachav, and she masqueraded as a Polish peasant, and she used to run from farm to farm, and sometimes the bombs would fall overhead, and she would say to herself, Hine lo yanum v'lo yishan shomer Yisrael. Okay, but what does the word hine add? Does the word hine have any specific meaning, or it's just some kind of poetic word that adds to the literary style of the pasuk? So let's begin with the Rashbam. Says the Rashbam that the word hine has a very specific connotation. Says Rashbam on the pasuk by Rivka that when she came to full term, it says V'hine soimim bevitna, and behold, there were twins in her womb. Says Rashbam, what does the word V'hine mean? Says Rashbam, b'chol devar chidush ragil loymar kain. Anytime there's a novelty, anytime there's something unusual, it says the word hine. Hine means, whoa, something unusual. For example, and this is the primary example. You ready for this? This week's Parsha. Vayihi v'boiker, and it was in the morning. V'hinehi Leah, and it was Leah. In other words, surprise, Yaakov. That's a pretty big surprise. Most people, when they get married, they expect in the morning to find the person they think they married. That's like, most people take that for granted. But no, Yaakov Avinu, Vayiba boiker, v'hinei Leah. Vayiba boiker, v'hinei Leah. Who was it? And it wasn't Leah. The Gemara asks, it wasn't Leah in the night? No, the Gemara says, in the night it wasn't Leah. In the night, Yaakov thought it was Rachel. Not until the morning came did he realize that it was... Not until the morning did Yaakov realize that it was Leah. So hine means surprise. That's the klal of the Rashbam. The word hine means surprise. Or, here's another example. V'chein vayikatz paroi, paroi woke up, v'hine chaloim, and it was a dream. What's the surprise over there? It seems that the Rashbam is saying that...
Don't hear you.
It seems that the Rashbam is saying that Yosef went to sleep. Paro went to sleep, and in his sleep he saw the 7 ears of grain, 7 skinny ears eating the 7 fat ears, 7 skinny cows eating the 7 fat cows, and it was so realistic, it was so lifelike that he thought it was really happening. So when he woke up in the middle of the night, V'hinei chaloim. Hey, Pare, get it together. You're just dreaming. This didn't actually take place. So V'hinei means surprise, both by Yaakov in the morning, or if you take a look at number 7, V'ativlana hashibalam hadakois, eis sheva hashibalam abrios v'hamaleos. The thin stalks swallowed the 7 healthy stalks. Vayikatz Paroi, and Paroi woke up. V'hinei chaloim, and it was a dream. So again, we see the word v'hinei means surprise. First example again, Vayiba boiker, v'hinei Leah. Second example, Vayikatz Paroi, v'hinei chaloim. Says the Rashbam, here also, when it says that, the Wi-Fi is not working here.
You need Wi-Fi?
So when it says that when it says that she had twins, it seems like it's a surprise. So what's a surprise? Presumably, what the Rashbam is saying is that Rivka Imenu thought that she was just having one kid. She didn't think, right? Most women, when they go to the OB for their monthly checkup, if the doctor says, lady, you're having twins, most women are going to be quite surprised. So, so this was so the pasuk says, "Vayimlu yamel laledes v'hinei soimim bevitna." The days were filled for her to give birth, and there were twins in her womb. In other words, she was quite surprised that she was having twins. She didn't expect to have twins. So the bottom line is, the Rashbam is offering us the following principle, that the word v'hinei means what? Surprise, a shocker. Vayiva boiker, v'hinei hi Leah. Vayikatz paroi, v'hinei chaloim. And vayimlu yamel aledes, v'hinei soimim bevitna. Rivka did not expect to have had twins. Now, Rabbi Yaakov Kamenetsky in his Sefer Emes Yaakov speaks many instances about the word v'hinei. So the first time he talks about it is in the pasuk Vayimlu Yamehal Aledes, and he's not satisfied with what the Rashbam says, that just it was a surprise for Rivka to have twins, because after all, many people had twins before. It's not like I would have said, it's even though many people have twins, but it's still a surprise when it happens to you, right? I think twins is very common, or it's very normal by other people. But when you're the one who is having twins, it comes as a surprise. But Rabbi Yaakov Kamenetsky says, no, that can't be what v'hinei is referring to. Rabbi Yaakov says v'hinei means until that point in history, a lot of people had twins, but every single person who had twins had a boy and a girl. Cain had the twin girl. Hevel had the twin girl. Others also had twins. Now, for the first time, this is a twin, 2 boys. So that was the v'hinei. V'hinei soim b'vitna, says Rabbi Yaakov. That's why the pasuk emphasizes vayisroitzutzu habonim b'kerba. and the boys were quarreling. Why does it have to say the boys? Because the chiddush is that this was the first time in history that there were twin boys. By the way, the same thing by Tamar. By Tamar it says, Vahi be'es lidata, v'hinei sa'imim bevitna. That's also a surprise. Why? Because she also was having twin boys.
Vihine, it's not working on the word current.
Right. So the Emes Liakov says that the surprise of the twins was the fact that it was twin boys.
So how would you explain the first two?
Okay, good. So in other words, so now that we've established that the word v'hine means a surprise, so does that really work out for the psukim? Hine kel Yeshua si avtach v'lo yafchad. Surprise! God is the God of my salvation. I trust Him. I'm not afraid. Does not seem to work for that pasuk. Or hine lo yonum v'lo yishan sham Yisrael. It would not seem to work that hine is a surprise over there. There, it would seem like it's a known idea. It's a established idea. So the rule of the Rashbam and the rule of Rabbi Yaakov Kamenetsky that hine is a surprise would not seem to work for hine kel Yeshua si and hine lo yonum v'lo yishan shomer Yisrael. Now, let's see another example. Take a look at number 7. Vativlana hashibalim hadakois esheva hashibalim habriois v'hamleos. The 7 skinny stalks swallowed the 7 fat stalks. Vayikatz paroi v'hinei chala. And it was a dream. So we said, the Rashbam says, what's the surprise over there? Paroi felt that the dream was so realistic that when he was dreaming that the 7 skinny stalks were eating the 7 fat stalks, he thought it was really happening. He thought it was happening in real time. And then he woke up, he was shocked that it was a dream. He thought it was really happening. So Rabbi Yaakov Kamenetsky says the same thing. He says that's the reason why the Sfarim tell us that dreams could have meaning. In other words, why would a dream have any meaning? A person has crazy thoughts during the day. A person's thinking about fantasy, imagination. So that's what a person would dream about in the night. Why would a dream be significant? The answer is because when a person is dreaming, it seems so realistic. It seems like it's happening in real time. The person thinks it's really happening. So that's the idea of how a dream could possibly be realistic. However, the Mizrahi on Rashi does not concur with the Rashbam. In other words, the Rashbam says, V'hine chaloim is, hey, surprise paroi, this is not a dream, this is not happening in real life, this is actually a dream. But the Mizrahi says, no, that's not what Rashi is referring to, because why would the Torah need to say, paroi woke up, and he thought, and surprise, it's a dream, because he thought it was really happening. Says the Mizrahi, every person, when they're dreaming, thinks it's really happening. There's nothing special about Paroi, that when Paro had a dream, he thought it was real, and then when he woke up, it was a surprise that it was only a dream. The Torah wouldn't need to say by Paroi, Paro woke up and it was only a dream. Every single person that dreams thinks it's real and then realizes it's a dream when they wake up. Now, I would say personally...
This was real.
What?
It was real.
It didn't really happen. No, I mean, 7 skinny stalks didn't actually eat. But the question is, what the Mizrahi is asking is, why would the Torah call that a surprise? It's a surprise because Paro thought it was real, but everybody who dreams thinks it's real. Is that true? I'll share with you some personal information. I often have dreams. I know it's a dream. I'm tired. I know it's something in my imagination. I'm too tired to get up, so I go with the dream. Yeah, every time. You always think it's real? Am I the only crazy one that sometimes I'm aware that it's actually a dream?
It stings you because it's so real. It's like
No, but I'm asking, anybody here ever experienced a dream where they know at the time it's actually a dream?
I wake up in a sweat. That's what happens. Right? You think it's real.
Is it because of the dream or stam because of other things that are going on?
My body's reacting to it.
Yeah, but do you ever have a dream that you know it's a dream? No, while you're dreaming, you're aware it's a dream.
Oh, that's a good.
So I think I think the Rashbam is saying, yeah, sometimes you could dream, and you're aware it's a dream. And the Chiddush is Paroi thought it was so real, he really thought it was happening. So, but the Mizrahi holds that when you're dreaming, you really think it's happening. You don't know it's a dream until you wake up. And therefore he interprets Vihine a little differently. You want to see how he interprets Vihine? He interprets Vihine that Paroi actually had two dreams. First he dreamed about the stalks. And then he woke up. And you know what Paroi said? No. These stalks, I'm going back to sleep. This is like a half a dream. This is not a full dream. Maybe if I go back to sleep, I'll have the full omen and the full portent of the dream, and I'll get more information. So Paroi was not ready yet to get up for the day and get an interpretation. So the first time it says, Vayikatz Paroi. The second time Paroi woke up, it was already close to the morning. So Paroi said, there's no point in going back to sleep. I think my dream is complete. And now the second time, the Torah says, V'hinei chaloim. V'hinei chaloim means, meaning, look at, what does Rashi say on V'hinei chaloim? V'hinei chaloim, V'hinei nishlam chaloim shalem. And behold, it was complete, a complete dream lefanav. V'hutzrach lepoisrim, and it needed to be interpreted. In other words, the way the Mizrahi learns is the first time Vayikatz Paroi woke up, but he sort of said, okay, I'm going to go back to sleep. But now Paro's ready to V'hinei chaloim. The dream is now complete, V'hutzrach lepoisrim, and it needs interpretation. So again, bottom line is that there seems to be a general rule that V'hinei is either a surprise, and by the way, how does the Mizrahi learn V'hinei? V'hinei chaloim. Meaning, and now it's a complete dream. V'hinei means and now. Where does the word hine come from according to the Mizrahi? V'hinei would be like hena, now. So most instances it seems like v'hinei means something new, and the Mizrahi says v'hinei kamin, and now as well. Okay, now let's try to apply this to some cases. Again, it doesn't seem to apply to Hine Layanim V'Layishan Sham Yisrael, and it doesn't seem to apply to Hine Kel Yishuasi. Take a look at number 12. In number 12, it seems like it's on again. The Wi-Fi. Vayi achrei hadvar ma'ila. It was after these matters. Vayomer liYosef, Hine avicha choila. Behold, your father is sick. Anybody remember what the Gemara says about Metzia? The Gemara says in Pei Zayin that until Yaakov Avinu, people would be walking down the street, and then they would be in the next world. It was a very smooth transition. You know, you're walking down the street on this world, and then a moment later, you're upstairs in the next world. No advance warning, no sickness, no illness, no hospital stay. Person just went straight to the world to come. Asa Yaakov Avinu. Yaakov Avinu came, ba rachame, he asked for mercy, v'hava chulsha, and there was weakness. Shenemar, vayomer liYosef, hine avicha chayla. Ask the Marsha, from where does the Gemara see in this pasuk that it was a new thing that people never got sick until Yaakov Avinu? In other words, the Gemara somehow is darshaning from this pasuk that until Yaakov Avinu nobody got sick, and from Yaakov Avinu on people got sick. Where in this pasuk do you see that sickness was like a chiddush, something new? So what would you say? Based on what we learned, Rabbi Yeshaya Pick answers the Marsha's kasha that the Gemara darshan it from the word hine. Behold, your father's sick. What's the behold? What's the new thing? The answer is, the new thing is that until now, nobody ever got sick before. From this word, hine, the Gemara is darshaning that it's a chidush, that until Yaakov Avinu, nobody ever got sick, and from Yaakov Avinu and on, it became a novelty that people became ill. So here, what we're learning is that hine being a davar chidush is not just a matter of grammar. It actually is a source of drashos of Chazal. Meaning Chazal darshan, that from this pasuk we could learn that until Yaakov Avinu nobody ever became ill, and from Yaakov Avinu and on, it became a new phenomenon that people got ill before they died. Okay, check out the next pasuk. Look at number 17. Vayagid leYaakov, it was told to Yaakov Avinu, Vayomer, and he said, Hine bincha Yosef ba'elecha. Behold, your son Yosef is coming to you. So Yaakov got a message. Behold, your son Yosef is coming to you. What's behold? So Rav Shlomo Kluger says, from this pasuk we could learn that Yosef HaTzadik never visited Yaakov Avinu. And he quotes a practice of the Marami Rothenberg, that from the time Marami Rothenberg became the Gadol Hadar, he never visited his father. Why? Because he was very busy. He was teaching Klal Yisrael, so he was exempt from Kibbut Av, and he never asked his father to visit him because his father was just a regular, simple person. So what about Yaakov and Yosef? Says Marami Rothenberg. Says Rav Shlomo Kluger. Yosef, from the time he became king, he never visited his father because he couldn't. He was a melech. Yaakov, on the other hand, always visited Yosef because Yosef wanted Yaakov to visit him because Yaakov Avinu was a great person, so Yosef wanted him to visit him. But now that Yaakov was sick, Yaakov couldn't visit Yosef. So that's what it means. Vayomer, hinecha bircha Yosef ba. Behold, Yosef's coming. But until now, Yosef never came. Rav Shlomo Kluger says, from this pasuk we could learn that Yosef did not visit Yaakov Avinu. I mean, look in the Chumash. Do you ever see Yosef visiting from the moment Yaakov came down to Mitzrayim? Do you find one time that Yosef came to Yaakov? You don't see it. Why? Because Yaakov visited Yosef. But now Yaakov was sick. So Vayomer hincha bincha Yosef ba'elecha. It was a chidush. So we're learning almost all the time that it says the word hine. Hine is like a novelty. Be it Vayihi ba'boker v'hine Leah. That's like the king of all of them. That's like the biggest surprise of all. Hine Leah. Or v'hine soimim bevitna. It was a chidush she was having twins. Or it was a chidush that it was twin boys. Or we have the pasuk vayikatz paroi v'hine chaloim. He couldn't believe it was a dream. He thought it was actually real. Or it says hine choyle vayomer Yosef hine avicha choyle, from which Chazal learn no one ever got sick before. This was the first time someone got sick before they died.
So what happened during the regular time of their life? Did they get sick?
Common cold, but the sickness and the death were not related. L'chayra people got sick, you know. People always got sick, but being sick before one died was not the regular occurrence. Yeah. Okay, let's see if we could examine a couple more instances, and if it will shed any light on these psukim. Hine lo yonav lo yishan shami Yisrael, and hine kel Yeshua si evtach v'lo yevchad. Let's take a look in number 19. Vayehi hu terem kila ledaber. Remember, Eliezer said a whole tefillah. He said, God Almighty, Hakrino lefanei hayom, make it happen today. And as he's finishing getting the words out of the mouth, V'hine Rivka Yaitzes, behold, Rivka was coming out. What's the V'hine over here? So I would have said the surprise is that usually, if you daven, okay, the tefillah has to go up, and the malachim have to let it through, and the Rebbeinu Shem has to examine it, and Hashem has to decide when he's going to listen to it. And here, he didn't even get the words out of his mouth, and the tefillah was already answered. That's the surprise. That's talk about quick response. That's what I would have said the V'hinei is. So the Mahari Asad, Rabbi Yehuda Asad, he says another pshat. He says, the Medrash says Besuel was a wealthy guy. Most wealthy people don't have their teenage daughters cleaning up, their restrooms. Most people don't have their girls, taking care of their sheep. And here it is, Besuel is a very wealthy person. He's a governor, he's an Oishar, and he sends out his young daughter Rivka to tend to his sheep, to go to the well. What's Rivka doing out there all by herself? Why would Besuel do that? The answer is surprise. This is something out of the ordinary. Besuel would never do such a thing. Why did it happen? Because Eliezer was davening that Yitzchak should find the shidduch. So the surprise was, on this occasion, this unusual occurrence happened, and Rivka herself came out, even though you would never have expected such a thing to happen. But let's see another possibility. Take a look at number 20. V'ra'ahu ha'kohen bayom hashvi. The kohen will see the nega on the seventh day. V'hinei ha'nega amad be'inav. And the nega was stationary in his eyes. And lo yifasa ha'nega ba'ar. The nega did not spread in the skin. V'ezgira ha'kohen shivas yamim shenis. Here we have the word v'hinei. The kohen will see it on the seventh day. V'hinei. What does the word v'hinei mean over there? It's an amazing thing. Says the Baal HaTurim, Hine means surprise. Hine means surprise. What's the surprise? The surprise is he hasn't looked at it for 7 days. The kohen has absolutely no idea what's vas titzach with the nega. So it's a surprise for him that after 7 days, usually after 7 days, the wound begins to heal. The tzaras looks exactly the same as it did originally. So that's, the Baal HaTurim says it's a surprise. And therefore, if you look in the Sefer Divrei Pinchas, which is a contemporary Sefer, he says, by Rivka also, there was a very big surprise. The surprise is, Chazal say, that Rivka Yimenu was such a tsanua, she didn't go out into the public, especially in front of other shepherds. She actually never ventured outside of her family's home before in her whole life, the Medrash says. The Medrash says this was the first time in the life of Rivka that Rivka ever left the house. So that's the pshat. Eliezer couldn't even get the words out of his mouth, and the shidduch he was hoping for the first time in her life, makes a guest appearance by the well. V'hinei Rivka yotzes. It was a big shocker. It was a big surprise. Look at number 23. V'he'onon sar me'ala oyel. Remember when Miriam spoke Lashon Hara about Moshe Rabbeinu? The cloud was removed from the tent. V'hinei Miriam mitzayras kashaleg. And Miriam was a leper like snow. V'hinei. What's the v'hinei? So I would have said, that's a big shocker. Because you think this is the only time anyone in all of Klal Yisrael ever said a word about another person that deserved tzaras? I mean, what did Miriam say already? She said, Moshe Rabbeinu, who does he think he is? Listen to what Miriam said. Miriam said, Hashem spoke to Avraham Avinu, and Avraham Avinu never separated from his spouse. Is Moshe greater than Avraham? In other words, she didn't, look at the disparaging remarks she made about Moshe. She said, Avraham Avinu is all the way up here. Moshe is just like that. He's not like that. You think Moshe, it's like she said, Moshe doesn't know the whole Yushalmi Baal Peh with every carbon ha'eda. There's one carbon ha'eda at the end of Masechta Uksin that Moshe Rabbeinu doesn't know Baal Peh. I mean, halavai they should say that about us. Think about what Miriam said. Miriam didn't criticize Moshe. Miriam said, he's only as great as Avraham Avinu. And you don't think anyone in the history of Klal Yisrael ever said a similar type of remark about somebody? The answer is probably they did. But they never got saras. So Miriam, who by the way, she saved Moshe Rabbeinu's life, you would have expected that perhaps her good deeds would have been enough to protect her from getting saras. And the answer is no. God says to her, why do you speak about Moshe? And the next second is, surprise! The Gedolah Hadar is being punished that she's Chashuva Kames. That's how I would have learned the V'hinei. The Divrei Pinchas says, perhaps, the surprise is, the Medrash says, that when Aaron looked at her, the tzaras went away. And when he turned away, the tzaras came back. So that was a shocker. You know, why would the tzaras be dependent on whether Aaron looked at her or not? And that's the V'hinei by Miriam. So that's
the second V'hinei?
That's what?
The second V'hinei?
Oh. That right. In other words, he's talking about the second v'hinei. So I would say pshat in the first v'hinei. Thank you. I would say the first v'hinei is the fact that she was a mitzvah in general. V'ha'anon sar me'al ha'ayal v'hinei Miriam mitzvahras kasholek. So basically, this is where I was holding this morning, and I sort of did not have a very good pshat in hinei kel Yeshua si eftach v'lo yefchad, and hinei lo yanum v'lo yishan shamar yisra. And then I realized that if you're going to give a shiur on the word hinei in Parshas Vayeitzey, it's actually a very good parsha to give a shiur on the word v'hinei. And this dawned on me, mamish, right before I printed the sheet, because if you look in the beginning of the parsha, almost every single word is v'hinei. And that's not even why I gave the shiur, and I didn't even realize it. And then I realized this week's parsha is Parshas v'hinei. Watch this. Vayachaloim v'hinei sulam mutzav arza. He had a dream, and behold, the ladder was standing on the ground. V'hinei malachei Elokim. And then again, v'hinei Hashem nitzav alav. And then, v'hinei anoichi. So first of all, what do the v'hineis mean here? And why in the world does it say v'hinei every other word? You ever realize that? What's going on in the beginning of this week's parsha? Vayach Elohim v'hinei sulam mutzav arza.
Rabbi is muted.
What exactly is the v'hinei sulam mutzav arza over here? So then I thought maybe you could say, he had a dream. Now in a dream, you could see a ladder. But most of the time, the ladder has to be leaning on something. Like on Monday, on this past Sunday, we went to Ramsgate. We went to the kever of Moses Montefiore. On Monday, we went to the East End of London, and we went to an ancient cemetery. In the cemetery, there were 3 old chief rabbis. One of them was Rev Solomon Herschel. And then in a side cemetery, there was Rav Tevel Schiff. Rav Tevel Schiff was the Rebbe of Rav Nosson Adler. Also in that cemetery was the Baal Shem of London. You ever hear the Baal Shem of London? Probably not. All the pictures of the Baal Shem Tov that you saw, they're all forgeries. That's not what the Baal Shem... It's not even a picture of the Baal Shem Tov. All the pictures that they have of the Baal Shem Tov are the Baal Shem of London. Now, who's the Baal Shem of London? He was an alchemist. He was an alchemist. He was a magician. And he was a very good magician. In fact, he won the lottery in London by guessing the numbers. And he became a multimillionaire. He was thrown out of Holland for these type of activities. And very interesting personality. Whether I was going to go to his kever or not, it doesn't matter because it was locked. So there was so we knocked on the door next to the Beis Olam, and it actually had a little mezuzah on it, and the guy let us in, and the wall around the cemetery was about 13 or 14 feet high, and he gave us a ladder. We decided not to climb up. Later, we found out it was a good thing we didn't climb up the ladder, because the last people who did it spent the night somewhere where we'd rather not have to be. So anyway, so in this cemetery you have the Baal Shem of London. So one thing is good to know is that all the pictures of the Baal Shem Tov are of this alchemist, the Baal Shem London. Also in the cemetery that was open, Rothschild is buried there. So we were zeicha to be at Rothschild's kever. Anyway, so most ladders, they have to be leaning on something. If they're not leaning on anything, then they're going to topple over. So I would say, surprise, he had a dream. You know what was a dream? There was a ladder, it was standing on the ground, the head of it was in the sky. And that's a surprise, because otherwise the ladder would fall down. How does a ladder stand on the ground and go up to the sky? And then, V'hinei malachei Elokim. Another surprise is, you know who's going up and down the ladder? Not the Pied Piper. It was angels going up and down. That was a surprise. And a third surprise is, you know who was all the way on the top of the ladder? God was on the top of the ladder. That's what I would have said. But then I had a question. What's it? V'hinei anochi imach. Surprise, I'm going to be with you? What's the surprise? So I looked around, I looked in the Malbim, I looked in all the Mefarshim, I said, let me look in the Or HaChaim HaKadosh. And sure enough, the Or HaChaim HaKadosh offers a new pshat in the word V'hinei. This is like, as we're going through it. What does Or HaChaim HaKadosh say? Or HaChaim HaKadosh says, most dreams are not really definitive information. As we know, Ki chaloimai shavheim, dreams are empty, they're vanity. And even if they're truthful, they'll have a lot of tevin and a lot of straw, because a dream is just like an expression of a person's imagination and a person's fantasy. But not so the dream of Yaakov Avinu. Yaakov Avinu wasn't having a dream. Yaakov Avinu was having a nevuah. If he was having a nevuah, then all the information he was seeing was absolutely definitive. It was precise information. And in order to indicate that the information was exact and precise, says Or HaChaim HaKadosh, every single thing that Yaakov Avinu saw, it says V'hinei. V'hinei means, behold, this is what is. This is the reality. This is not a chaloim, this is a nevuah, and this is exactly what will be. Therefore, Vayach chaloim. And it was an actual ladder which represented something real. And there were actual malachim that represents actual malachim. And God was actually there definitively, decisively. No, there's no haziness, there's no cloudiness. Most dreams, you have a dream, you could see the person, you can't see the person, it is meaningful, it's not meaningful, it is significant, it's not significant, it is ominous, it's not. No, this is not a dream, this is not something that needs to be interpreted. This was a nevuah. And to indicate the preciseness of every single detail, it says V'hinei, says Or HaChaim HaKadosh, Ulazeh timtza shadiktek loimar b'chol prat uprat mehanigla ila b'chaloim v'hinei, by the Rias HaSulam, by the Rias HaMalachim, by the Malachi Elokim, to indicate, and also hakavana b'zeh ki hoisa nevuah mamish. In other words, v'hinei means machlet b'rayasai, definitive.
Does that apply to all the other ones that we just went?
No, I wouldn't say it applies to all of them. But I think according to Or HaChaim HaKadosh, we've discovered a new definition of the word V'hinei. V'hinei means definitively, absolutely.
But Parah, it has to work. I mean, that has to be V'hinei Chalai. It's the same word, right?
Well, by Parah, at least we know it was a surprise. There we could learn, like the Rashbam, that it was a surprise. By Parah, no, it wasn't a nevuah, because Parah can't have nevuah. He's not a navi. But by Yaakov Avinu, it's...
How is Or HaChaim teaching that? If he's defining, it has to be consistent.
No, I don't know that every single time in Chumash it says V'hinei, it has to be, in other words...
No, but in this, that's the same word.
Only by Yaakov Avinu. In other words, Parah doesn't have nevuah. Parah can't have nevuah. So there, V'hinei means surprise. It was a dream. He thought it was real, and it's a surprise that it was a dream. And also by Parah, it doesn't say V'hinei by every single detail, because he may have had haziness and cloudiness by some of the details. Or HaChaim HaKadosh is saying the fact that it keeps on repeating Hinei, 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 that means a certain level of definitiveness. So this was very important to me, because Rabbi Yaakov Kamenetsky says a similar idea about Hinei in Parshas Vayera. Take a look at number 28. Vayomer Elav, they said to him, Ayisar Ishtecha, where's Sarah? Vayomer Ba'oyel, said she's in the tent. That's not what it says. Vayomer Hinei Ba'oyel. Says Rashi, Tznuahi, she's modest. She's modest.
Yeah, but you didn't need
Who asked Rashi to comment anything over here? Is there a problem? The Malachim asked Avram an innocent question. Where's Sarah? He said, Avram's giving a straightforward answer. She's in the tent. Where does Rashi see that? How does Rashi know that what Avram Avinu was saying was that she's modest? They asked him where she is, and he answered. Who says he's commenting on her modesty or lack thereof? I mean, Rashi doesn't just comment for the fun of it. Rashi says she's modest. Where in the pasuk does Rashi see that Avram Avinu is saying, by the way, Well, you're asking where she is? I just want you to know she's modest. Who's? How does the Gemara know? And Rashi would only quote a Gemara if you need the Gemara to explain pshat in the pasuk. It's something lacking in the pasuk that Rashi needs to add the detail that Avram Avinu was conveying. By the way, she's modest. That one simple question: where's the lady? So he said she's in the tent. Who said anything about modesty?
Oh, you didn't even need to say hine. They could have just said boho.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so why did he say hine?
Okay.
So Rabbi Yaakov says like this: hine has another meaning. Hine could mean it's pasha, not surprise. Until now, we learned hine means a shocker. Hine could also mean the opposite. It's pashat. And therefore, that's how Rashi knew that Avram Avinu was saying she's modest. Meaning, the Malachim say, "Where's Sarah?" And Avram was saying, what kind of dumb question is that? Where's Sarah? She's at Tsanua. She's in the tent. How does Rashi know? In other words, how do Chazal know that Avram Avinu is conveying that she's modest? Because otherwise, why did he say hine? Hine doesn't mean shocker. She's in the tent because she's a prutza chas v'shalom. Hine means it's pashut. What kind of ridiculous shaila is it? Where is she? That's like asking, where's Yaakov Avinu? Yaakov Avinu is in the Beis HaMedrash. So you're asking, where's Sarah? Where else is she? She's in the tent, says Rabbi Yaakov Kamenetsky. This pshat in hine is like the Arachaim HaKadosh's pshat in hine in this week's Parsha. V'hine meaning like it's definitive, it's clear, it's obvious, it's overt, it's blatant. Now we're going to share with you a situation where I'm not so clear about the meaning. And I want to point out something very interesting. Vayomer Yitzchak al Avraham Aviv. Yitzchak said to Abraham, Vayomer Avi? Vayomer Hineni B'ni. Vayomer Yitzchak said, Hine ha'esh v'ha'etzim. Behold, here's the fire and the wood. But Dad, where's the sheep? So what does Hine mean here? It doesn't mean surprise. Surprise! Here's the wood and the fire. I mean, Avram Avinu is the one bringing it. He knows that there's the wood and the fire. He's saying, what's he saying? What's the Vihine saying? It's Pasha, meaning it's Pasha that this is the fire and the wood. What does that mean? It's Pasha, this is the fire and the wood.
Carbon going on, yeah?
Right.
So where in the world is...
Where? So you think hine, it's pashut, makes sense over here. It's pashut that we have the... But he's talking about the fire and the wood. It's pashut that this is the fire and this is the wood.
So that he's surprised.
So this is a surprise that there's a fire here?
No, he's surprised that Yitzchak's not realizing he's going to be the carbon.
No, but the word hine is going on the eish and the eitzim.
He sees because he sees everything and he doesn't see the carbon. So l'chayru, who's the carbon? He realizes he's the carbon.
No, but he knew it before. He knew it's going to be a korban. It's not new to him.
Yeah, exactly.
I would say hine here means the one thing I know for sure, meaning maybe like the Arachaim HaKadosh. There's one thing I know definitively. I know there's a fire here. That I know. I know there's a wood over here. But I'm a little confused. Where's the sheep?
Yeah, but he knew, Rabbi.
Because afterwards it's Vayechu Shneim Yachdav. This was the realization, and then afterwards it's Shneim Yachdav. They were on the same page.
So now it's dawning on it. So what's the hine trying to say?
Everything is here. He sees the age.
It's time to execute. That's what it means.
And the realization that he's the carbon, and then they went Shneim Yachdav.
Rabbi, he knew it's a korban. It's time to execute.
So, okay, I'm just going to specifically, the hine is communicating that it's obvious that the fire and the wood, but where's the sheep? And then it hits him.
Yeah, everybody else, the hine is usually right in front of the words that it's trying to describe or whatever.
Right.
So the hine would be a little out of place.
Yeah, I don't think it's going on the sheep. I mean, it would have to be, it's clear that this is the fire and this is the wood. Okay, one more example, then I want to point out something very interesting. Vayisa Avraham Esenav. Avraham lifted his eyes. Vayar, and he saw V'hine ayel. It's a ram. Says the Sfarno, and I think the Sfarno is learning, Vihine is a surprise. That, when it's a ram, who says you can bring the ram? If you're walking down the street, oh, wow, that's a nice Lexus. I'm going to be makriv it as a carbon. Yeah. I mean, how did Avraham know that he could take it? Look in the Sfarno. He understood that the ayol appeared with the will of God. And there's no chashash gezel. Because he saw that it wasn't there a minute ago. And v'hine ayol, out of nowhere, the ayol appeared. So he realized God made it come there. Because it wasn't there 2 seconds ago. V'hine ayol. A second ago there was no ayol. And then immediately take of raya ayol. So the Sfarno is learning v'hine means what? Surprise. Something that wasn't known until then. But look at Rashi. Rashi says v'hine ayol. It was an ayol designated from the 6 days of creation. Says the Sifsei Chacham, how does Rashi know that this was an ayol designated from the 6 days of creation? Because otherwise, why does it say v'hine? So how does the Sifsei Chachamim understand the word v'hine? He seems to understand the word v'hine, something that's been prepared and designated. That's a new meaning. So let's review the different possibilities of the word v'hine. The Mizrahi said v'hine means that the Mizrahi says v'hine means and now, meaning as opposed to before. And now, which by the way is the same thing as a surprise. Surprise is something that happened now and not before. I think it's the same meaning. In other words, the Mizrahi learns by the dream of Paroi. Paroi woke up, and now it's a full dream as opposed to before it wasn't a full dream. So in other words, that is very consistent with the meaning surprise. Surprise means something that I didn't recognize and realize and fully comprehend until now. That's what a surprise is. So one meaning of v'hine is surprise, now, and I don't think that works in the psukim. Hine kel Yeshua siyaftach, and hine lo yanam v'lo yishan. There's no surprise over there. There's nothing that's happening now. God was always the God of my salvation. God never slept. Unless it means, now I realize, until I always maybe, I wasn't sure, I didn't have the faith, I didn't have the bitachon, I didn't have the emunah, and now I realize and I comprehend that I have no one to rely on and God is there for me. Maybe. Or, the way Rashi learns hine means prepared and designated. Could that be what it means? Hine kel Yeshua si evtach v'lechad. God has designated himself and prepared himself that he's the Ribbon Shel my salvation and I trust in him. God has prepared himself. Hine, he's designated and prepared. Lo yanum v'lo yishan shomer Yisrael. I would prefer to think that the hine in these two psukim, like the Arachayim HaKadosh explains the hine in the dreams, in the Chaloim of Yaakov Avinu. Vayachalam, and he had a dream. But don't think this is a dream like Paro's dream. This is not hazy, this is not fuzzy, there's no ambiguity, there's no uncertainty. Yaakov Avinu saw definitively, without any question, that there was a Sulam Mutzav Arza, and its significance was unquestionable. And there were angels going up and down, and that was not ambiguous, that was definitive. And the Rebbe Shem was standing on top of it, and there was no question about that. And then Hashem says, V'hine anoichi imach, no questions, not probably I'm with you, 90% I'm with you, 99%, V'hine, definitively I'm with you. And therefore, perhaps as a declaration of emunah, When a person declares his faith that the Ribbon Shalom is with him and ready to save him and ready to help him, ready to be with him, and Hashem never slumbers and Hashem is never going to look away and Hashem's going to stand with us our whole life to help us be successful, the correct word to use is Hinei kel Yeshua siyaftach. Definitively, unquestionably, without any sveikos, without any doubts, without any challenges. Hinei lo yonum v'lo yishan sham Yisrael. And I think that's a very beautiful understanding of these psukim. According to Archaim HaKadosh, Hine is a statement of absoluteness, of clarity, of definitiveness, like in the Nevuah of Yaakov Avinu. And I think it would give us a very profound insight into these psukim of Emunah and Bitachon. Hine means a statement, a fact, without question, without uncertainty, without any ambiguity. Hinei kel Yeshua si eftach v'lo yafchad. Hinei lo yanum v'lo yishan shomer Yisrael. So even though you thought that a shiur on the subject of Hinei would be uninteresting, and behold, it was one of the best shiurim you heard, at least today. Thank you for coming, everyone. Have a wonderful night. Shkoyach.
Comes out that it's opposites, right?
Shocking. Surprise. Last thing, right. So it comes out that this is the clincher. You could go if you want, but this is the clincher. So Hine could have two opposite meanings. One meaning is surprise. A surprise, something that wasn't known until now. Something that unexpected.
But it was revealed.
Until now, nobody knew. It was a complete shocker. It was out of the blue. It was something that nobody ever heard of. Undefinitive, unclear. And the other meaning of Hine is, as Archaim HaKadosh says, davar muchlat, something that's absolutely definitive. Rashi says, in the last printing in the Marmakones, Parshas Truma, Parak Chav Zayin, Pasuk Gimel, that the word ledashnoi means to remove the ashes. Why? Ki yesh milois belashon ivris, mila achas mischalefes bepisrain. One word could be interpreted both ways. Binyan ustira. Kamoi vatashresh and tisharesh. Vatashresh means could uproot and to root. So in Lashon HaKodesh, there's a very interesting phenomenon. That one word can mean something and its exact opposite. And I think that's what we see with the word Hine. Hine means a surprise, something people didn't recognize, something people didn't know, something that was unheard of until now. And Hine means definitive, absolutely, designated from beforehand, without any uncertainty, without any doubt. So this would be an example of what Rashi says in Parshas Truma, that one word in Lashon HaKodesh can mean two exact opposite things. And it's not brought in for stylistic purposes. It's not brought in for literary purposes. It's a word from which Chazal darshan. From the word Hine we darshan, no one ever got sick before. It's an actual drush of Chazal. From Hine we learn that Paroi thought it was actually real. And we also learn from the word Hine that when it comes to HaKadosh Baruch Hu's salvation for Klal Yisrael, it's absolute, it's definitive, without any question.
Also, Hine backwards is Hine.
Right.
So it means
So you could, whether forward or backwards, yeah, very good. Thank you very much. Okay, everyone, have a good one. Shkoyach.
Yeah, simple.
it's like Nasan.
Yeah.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.